Okay, I'm going to do a tutorial about how to use Photoshop Mix to cut images out and then import them into FlipaClip to animate. First, open up Photoshop Mix. If you touch the plus in the upper right hand screen, you can start a new project. And you have the choice of selecting an image, taking a picture with your camera, or creating a custom canvas. We would have already downloaded the images, so select image, and it goes to your photo library. I had already set up a animation folder to store these things. So I'm going to select this JPEG that has all these animals, and we're going to cut one out. On the bottom toolbar, I go to the scissors icon and tap Cutout, and it puts this sort of grayed out PNG background looking thing. This pop-out comes up, and you can select Add or Subtract. I'm going to use Add, and make sure that I'm using the Smart Wand in the bottom toolbar. If I touch in the workspace, the slider goes back into the middle, and then I can two-finger zoom and move the thing around and select an animal. So I'm going to do the hyena. If I just swipe my finger across, you can see that it begins to select parts of the animal. Now it's quite small, so I might need to blow it up and make sure that I get all of the parts in a detailed way. Try to be really careful and make sure that you get all the inner workings, because there's quite a bit of detail in this image. So I just lightly touch. I don't have to touch everything that I need because it's a smart wand and it's selecting these things by color. Now let's say that I accidentally go outside the lines and I make an error and I swipe out too much. At the top, there's a curved arrow that points to the left. That's an undo button, and I simply undo it. And I can do lots of it. It has a history. And then if I accidentally undo too much, I can push the other arrow and redo some of my work. Once I'm satisfied with what I've cut out, in the lower right hand corner, I touch the check mark and it cuts out the image. When you cut out an image in Photoshop Mix, it will leave it as the same size. I can now touch this image and I move it to the center, and when it's exactly centered in the workspace, I get this crosshair thing that shows up. For our purposes today, that's a good idea. Sometimes you're going to want to leave things exactly where they were, because when you export them, it's going to keep it the same size. And if you're cutting out parts to assemble them later, sometimes that's a really good idea. To export, I use the export icon, which is in the upper right-hand corner, the square with the vertical arrow. I touch it, and it shows me where I can send things. I'm going to choose camera roll there at the top. So now that I know it's completed, I hit OK. I can swipe out and open up FlipaClip. FlipaClip is the animation program. Once it's open, I go to the bottom, and there's a red icon with a plus. That's how I create a new project. I'm going to call this Test Animal 6. I can select background images, etc. I'm going to show you that if you're sure you're going to use one particular background, you could import it or paint it now. For example, if we're going to put this into, say, iMovie, and we want to green screen out our animation, I could paint the whole background green. I'll leave that for now. It'll just show one frame. That's fine. You can choose your canvas size. For learning purposes, 720p is perfectly fine for now. When we do real assignments, I'll want you to use the highest resolution possible. Animation defaults to 12 frames per second. That's perfectly fine for us. I hit Create Project, and this is the workspace. So across the top toolbar, I have a drawing icon. I can change the thickness of the pen, and I can choose a color of the ink. And this lets me draw in the space. There's a similar undo arrow at the top. I can also use the second icon, which is the eraser icon, and erase parts or all of what I drew. And I can undo anything that I would have drawn. Okay. The lasso icon is in the middle. That's very important for us as we import images. A painting icon and a text icon. Let's leave it on lasso for now. In the lower right-hand corner is the layers icon, and if I touch it, it shows me that I'm in layer 1, and it's red, and that lets me know which layer I'm in. Right now we only have one layer, so there's only one choice. At the bottom is the frame icon. It's green because it's a thumbnail of what the current image looks like. And next to it is a dotted frame icon with a plus. If I long press that, it gives me 3 choices for assigning a function to that button. Add empty frame, duplicate last frame, paste in a new frame. For our purposes today, let's make sure it's on duplicate last frame. Now we're going to import our animal image into this field. In the upper right hand corner, I touch the 3 dots, and it gives me some settings. I'm going to add an image, and I'm going to take it from my photo library. And there in Recents is my hyena. I'm going to leave him there for now. Go back to the layer icon in the lower right hand corner. And let's now rename this layer hyena. That way, when we look at the layers, we can easily tell that that's where I'm animating the animal. Now, we're going to put in one of our backgrounds. Let's add it as a new layer. So I'm going to touch in the layer menu here, the plus at the bottom, and instantly layer 2 appears. Let's touch that again, and we can rename it background so we know what we're dealing with. Notice that background is lit up red. So that lets me know that whenever I make a change in the workspace, I'm working in the background layer. If hyena is red, then I would be working in the hyena layer. Let's add an image to background. So I touch background, go to the 3 dots in the upper right hand corner, and add another image from the photo library. I go back to my animation material, and I'll select one of these backgrounds. Now you can see that it's not quite big enough to fill the space, so I 2-finger pinch down, and then I can grab the corner and expand the size until it fills the space. And I can move it around a little so I can see the floor, and that seems good enough to me. I touch outside and it's done. So now you might say, well, where's our hyena? Well, let's go back to the layer icon in the lower right, and we can see that the background is above hyena. So let's move the background to the background. So I grab the hamburger menu on the left and move it underneath hyena. I'm going to touch hyena because we're going to animate that next. And I can see my hyena now on top of the background. With the lasso icon at the top selected, I circle the hyena. It makes a square. That round dot that's connected to the center top square, if I grab it, I can spin the hyena. If I grab a corner, I can resize the image. So I'm going to make the hyena the size that I want, and then move it to the floor on the left. Now I have a hyena ready to animate. So I'm going to press the add a frame, which as you remember is duplicate frame, and now it's copied the frame from 1 to 2. Using the lasso tool, I'm going to circle the hyena. Now I can manipulate it. So I'm going to tilt, move, and copy. And then I just repeat this process. Tilt, move, copy. Tilt, move, copy. Tilt, move, copy. Tilt, move, copy. Tilt, move, copy, tilt. Now remember, it is 12 frames per second of animation. So we're closing in on 1 second of animation. Tilt, move, copy, tilt, move, copy. Okay, there's 1 second, and he's kind of walked across the floor. Now let's say I want to make him move back. Well, if I circle with the lasso, you'll notice underneath the hyena, I have 3 choices here. I have a trash can, which means I can get rid of it, and then these 2 other icons. The one on the left flips the image horizontally, and the one in the middle flips the image vertically. So I'm going to turn him around like so. And I will copy that. Now I'm going to tilt, move, copy. Tilt, move, copy. Tilt, move, copy. And animate the hyena walking across the floor back to where we started. Notice that it's not manipulating the background. It's because we are in the hyena layer. So what would it look like if I accidentally selected the background layer and circled this? Well, if I try to move it, now it's going to move part of the background because I'm in the wrong layer. So I can undo that, make sure I'm in hyena, and continue. Tilt, move, copy, tilt, move, copy, tilt, move, copy. Okay. I can very carefully go frame by frame back and see how things are going, or I can preview the animation in a loop by pressing the play. And there's my hyena walking back and forth. Other things you can do is you can long press on the frame, and it gives you some options. Immediately above, just to the right of the trash can, is a copy icon. Once I pick that, then the frames on either side at the extremes of the toolbar are paced either to the right or to the left. The dotted images mean just add an empty frame. So if I hit this plus, then it's going to add a blank frame. Once you're satisfied with your animation, touch the 3 dots in the upper right hand corner, and I can select Make a Movie. Make sure that you turn off this FlipaClip watermark toggle, and then I render the movie by pressing Make Movie, and I will save it to Photos. Do not upload directly to YouTube or any of those things, because then you'll lose the file. So save it to Photos, and then I can go into my Photos, and there's my movie. From here, I can send it wherever I like.